so they can hear us now. Yeah, I'll give you a second, but I'll introduce us while you're finishing that off. Ooh, I don't like how that camera looks. That still doesn't fix it.
Should I move this?
No. I'll move it. Let's see, where am I placed right now? I'm there. Sorry, guys.
We're having a few minor adjustments.
Actually, you two were zoomed in on that.
If I'm not as enthusiastic today, it's because I've been working and haven't slept much. However, I'm gonna muscle through this, so.
Yeah. Alright, I think it looks better there.
So first things first.
Go ahead and scoot Boba back. Boba can get closer to you. And actually, this is what's throwing off the... There we go. And Boba can get closer this way to me. There we go. Okay. You can scoot closer this way because you're getting cut off. I'll go this way.
I wore like this shoulder.
Yeah.
They don't need to see my shoulders.
Yeah, they're seeing less of John than usual. I don't know what's up with this angle right now, but we're just gonna run with it.
Yeah.
Because we're starting a little bit earlier because
yeah.
I wanted to get through this a little bit more because I'll tell the audience why afterwards. But hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk.
Yeah.
The weekly show where we talk about Star Wars in canon.
Excuse me.
This is episode 8.
Yeah, episode 8.
This week we read The High Republic Midnight Horizon.
Yeah.
By Daniel Jose Older, who is a great... He's one of the really good Star Wars authors in recent... he's been mostly working in the comics side, but he's also got... This is one of his books that he's done. I think he's done some other Star Wars books. Yeah, he did Race to Crash Point Tower, which we haven't read yet. Well, I've read, but you haven't.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's the second of the junior novels.
Okay.
So yeah. Which we're on this is the third of the young adult novels. We skipped a young adult novel.
Yeah. I didn't know who fucking Ram was.
So Ram is introduced in Race to Crash Point Tower. And he's also in what else was it? He's in the comics. He's in High Republic Adventures comics, which are the ones that Daniel Jose Older works on. So let's pull up the news real quick. There's not a lot. There is one big piece I guess I should start off on while I'm pulling up the rest of the news, is that they announced when Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to start.
Really?
Yes. So we now have official word that it is May 25th. So we were correct in believing in that May from all the reports that we were hearing, because we heard all those rumblings of May being the likely candidate for. Now a lot of people are thinking Star Wars Day. This is going to be a little bit later than that, which makes me curious what they're going to do for Star Wars Day. Because I would imagine they would want a big show on Star Wars Day. I would imagine they would want to go, this is the cool show that we're doing for Star Wars Day. But they didn't do that.
Pilot episode, maybe?
No.
But then again, why would you wait,
2 more weeks? Yeah, 2 to 3 more weeks, yeah. Let's see. Oh. I guess this is from today. So it's a good thing I always look at the news last minute, because sometimes things just pop up. So we got the first few titles of Phase 2 books. Oh, this was from the High Republic show yesterday, which I did not watch that episode yet. So Star Wars does their High Republic show on their YouTube channel, on the Star Wars YouTube channel, which is basically them just doing, here's the big announcements. So it turns out one of my theories was correct, that we were... Hold on, wait, no, that's not my theory. Sorry. It's still doing the 150 years back. But one of the cool books they're releasing is a artwork book, The Art of Star Wars The High Republic. So that's going to have a lot of Phase 1's like concept art and stuff. And that's going to release on September 27th. They've got some concept art of Marchion Rowe here, or Marchion, depending how you want to say it.
Yeah.
It is Marchion, I think, because in the audiobook for this one, which was read by somebody else, they said Marchion. You got some Reith Silas art. You got some Comac Vitus art. All right, so some of the titles that we've got so far for the next... Okay, so we've got our title for our first adult novel, which is Convergence. And it's being written by Zoraida Cordova, which she's only worked... And I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Zoraida, I think. I'll let you. It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my guess. She's only written... This would be her second Star Wars novel. Her first one was A Crash of Fate, which is something that we haven't covered yet on the show. It's canon. It's way later in the timeline. It's closer to... It's after Episode 6.
Yeah, that it would be way later in the timeline.
Yeah, so we got a while before we get to that book. The first young adult novel for Phase 2 will be Path of Deceit by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland, which Justina Ireland's, she wrote A Test of Courage, and she's also written some other books for us, but we haven't read them on the show yet.
Yeah.
This is Gratton's first foray into Star Wars, along with an upcoming short story in the upcoming Stories of Jedi and Sith collection, which that's the first I've heard about that. That's not High Republic content, but that's Star Wars content. So
yeah,
this would be her first novel, I guess. So that's the young adult novel, and then this will be Ireland's second young adult novel because she wrote the phase. She wrote Wave 2 novel, so the one we skipped, Out of the Shadows, which we're gonna go back to obviously, but we skipped it for a reason. The usual reason. And then, last but not least, George Mann, who has written a lot of he's been in charge of the short story collections for Star Wars lately. Like, he did Myths and Fables, and he did Dark Legends and Life Day Treasury, which are all exactly what you think they are. So, Myths and Fables is basically the stories you would tell your kids before bed or whatever of Star Wars. Dark Legends would be your scary stories, to tell in the dark sort of deal. And then Life Day Treasury is your holiday collection. It's your Christmas stories. He is working on the junior novel called Quest for the Hidden City. Mann isn't new to High Republic, having written a couple of illustrated children's books. Because he's been writing the sticker books essentially. Because there are sticker books as well, and they're basically just. They're exactly what you think. They're really short versions of the adult novels with stickers, which I like those. I like getting them just for the stickers, so I have the character art. And also, since they're fully illustrated, you get more of the character art, too. So the first one has some art of Buryaga, your boy, and so, because, Buryaga was important in the first book.
Yeah.
And then, so he's done Showdown at the Fair and the Battle for Starlight.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. So that is our first set of novels. It seems though that we also so I don't know if we talked about this on the show. I think we might have, but that Dark Horse is getting back into Star Wars comics. I don't know if we talked about that off air or on air.
I'm not sure we talked about it at all, but my memory is a bit faulty at the moment.
That's fair. So we finished with our book news, but in the comic news, okay, so hold on. It says when the Okay, so in comic news, currently there's no release dates or plot details for any of the novels, so we'll just ignore that for now. Marvel, though, is relaunching its flagship, the High Republic series, so it's going to do Volume 2, I guess, essentially, where they reset the numbers,
All right.
Even though it's only been 13 issues, but I guess they're going to have to reset it anyways because they're trying to stick to to whatever phase we're in. So that's going to come back in October. I think there's only 15 issues total of the first set. So let's see. So more than likely, Star Wars Newsnet, which is where as I've said many times on the show, this is where I get my news from. This is where I look at this is basically where I grab what we're going to talk about. They are guessing, based on the fact that we know that the Marvel flagship comic is going to reset in October, that more than likely that's when we'll get Convergence around, which makes sense. Because the way it came out with Phase 1 was they did Light of the Jedi, and then within that same month we started getting the comics. So more than likely, I'd say early October for Convergence, mid to late October for the comic. That would be my guess. Using that same logic.
Yeah.
So we'll have time to explore other parts of Star Wars before jumping back to the High Republic. We'll have some time.
Maybe then I can figure out the timeline.
Yeah, I'll after we finish the High Republic books that we're doing right now, I'll give us a official timeline. In other comic news, we finally know what Dark Horse's first comic back with Star Wars will be. It turns out that Claudia Gray, who we love on the show, will be writing for them Quest of the Jedi, which will be part of the High Republic stuff. Which makes sense because I think Phase 2 has been called Trials of the Jedi, is like the subtitle for the phase, like as a whole. Like Phase 1, I think, was just subtitled Light of the Jedi. And so I think next is Trials of the Jedi, is what I think it is. Dark Horse also has an original graphic novel coming, which will be from Daniel Jose Older. Hey. Yeah. There you go. It's all connecting. It's all connecting. and we like Daniel Jose Older. He's really good to the Star Wars fandom. He's a lot of fun. He's on TikTok even, and he'll talk to people. So he's very active in the community. Charles Soule is as we know, he works on the Star Wars comics. Anyways, he does the mainline comic right now for High Republic. He's also the author of Light of the Jedi, and he is writing a comic for our favorite Jedi Master, Porter Engle. And since it's 150 years before the stories, we'll get to learn why he's called the Blade of Bordata. Or Bordetta, yeah. All right. And so I think that's everything on High Republic news. Yeah. So, okay. So we got our High Republic news today, which puts us kind of in the right mood, I think. I think there might be more Star Wars news, but I think that's enough. We got our Obi-Wan. We know when it's coming out, and we know
enough.
We got High Republic content. So I think that puts us in the right mood to talk about our review today.
So spoiler warning.
Yes.
If you haven't read the book yet and you don't want to be spoiled, go read the damn book.
So is that
it's a good book?
I was about to say, is that your recommendation? But you just, that's your recommendation of the book.
But if you want, we're gonna spoil the shit out of
and if you don't care about that, you can stick around.
Yeah.
Like, just know that that's what we do on the show, so you're gonna get that.
Yeah. If you haven't tuned in before, we do our weekly book reviews.
Yeah, essentially.
And I have to hand over my crown.
Yes. I read the book first. I did it by like a day.
By a day.
Which I thought so I guess we'll just have a little fun. My monster was not happy.
Apparently not.
So normally I'm going to kind of set the stage here for that. Normally when we do this, I give you the book around, usually after we finish filming, I try to get you a copy of the book, whether like later in the day or whatever. And so that means by Sunday, you have it, no matter what. Usually by Sunday, you have it, with the exception of A Test of Courage.
Yeah.
Because there was no way I could get you a digital copy.
Yeah.
The only way I had thought about doing it was taking picture by picture of my book.
And that would be insane.
Which I tried doing that, and it was just too much of a mess. So I gave you the book Tuesday, because I see you on Tuesdays for your D&D game that you run.
Yeah.
So I was just like, here you go. You can have the physical copy. I've got the audiobook, so you're good.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was business as usual. I got you a copy, and so usually what you have told me is you won't read it Sunday.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I need one, like, breather day.
Yeah, but usually you'll start Monday.
Yeah.
Usually.
So
apparently this time, and I was unaware of this, you didn't start till Tuesday.
No,
not even.
It was either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm here. I decided that I was going to commit to taking the notes, which I didn't commit. But I did for the first four chapters?
Yeah,
Three.
Good on you.
3 to 4.
You did more work than I did.
3 to 4. 3 to 4 chapters, which for the camera, I don't know how well they're going to see it because written words are hard to see. But this and this is all the first 3 to 4 chapters.
Yeah. Is a page and a half of notes. And
which I'm probably not even going to go completely by because we're going to try to like make it smoother than usual. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I gave up about a few chapters in because I was like, I'm reading this way too slow doing this. Because what I would do is I would read it or listen to it once, and then I would go back, reread it while writing the notes. Yeah. And that just took too long.
So another thing, and the way I've decided to read the book,
mm-hmm.
the books in general, originally I was like, I'll set an hour of reading time aside for the book,
which doesn't that still works a good bit. Although we got bigger books at some point,
and that stopped working. So I was like, okay, 100 pages a day,
which that still works for this. So because this was only
465.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say it wasn't too much.
Like
it wasn't too crazy.
You can get it done in a week.
Yeah, and if you do the audiobook, you could get it done in a day because I think it was like 8 hours. So if you just chilled, listen to the audiobook, which this might be the best audiobook or one of the best audiobooks.
I feel like because audiobook form would actually help this one.
Yeah, so this one, they put some production into this. They had a theme, like they had a music theme, which I went on a rant with one of my friends. I wouldn't say mutual friends because you don't know her yet, but you're gonna get to know her soon. But I was on her Discord, and I was like, I ranted about how I think they should release the soundtrack for the High Republic, and she agrees. Like, look, Lucasfilm, if you're going to go out and do an entire project where you have a whole new set of books, and then you're also planning to make TV shows and video games in that series, just go all out. Do what you did back in I think it was the 90s and early 2000s, Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire was a book series, a comic series. It had a video game, which I beat recently on YouTube. Yeah, Shadows of the Empire.
I haven't watched it, but I was like, around what? This is like part 17, I think. I'm like, yeah.
No, Shadows of the Empire, I think, was less. I beat that in like 8 parts. It's a short game. And so, unless you're playing on a really high difficulty, which I did not, I was like...
You're like, I'm not doing that.
Because I remember how hard the game was as a kid on N64, and I was playing it on PC.
And you were like, nope, I'm not dealing with that today.
Which I ran into a level that was a problem, because more of level... Anyways, off track. The point of the Shadows of the Empire thing is that they had a soundtrack that they made, so that way if you were reading the novel, you could play the soundtrack and listen to it, and it would almost like perfectly sync up depending where you were in the book. And so like, give me something like that. Give me some cool music to put the High Republic vibe in. I'd probably use it for the show whenever you guys are waiting for us to go live. And like, I would buy it purely for that reason. And I also just like, it was cool. And so on top of that, the audiobook was also read by Todd Haberkorn. So he kept my interest.
Let me check something.
Yeah, that he is Death the Kid on Soul Eater.
I know he's Death the Kid, but I think he's also another.
Yeah, he's in some other stuff. He's a really good. He's a really good voice actor, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think.
But yeah. Anyways, while you're looking that up,
yeah.
I guess I'll get us into the story, so that way we don't run too far behind.
Yeah.
Because we got a bit to talk about.
Yeah. Mr. Haberkorn also voices Natsu from Fairy Tail.
Yeah. So.
But
there you go. He's a really good actor, in my opinion. And so as a reader, he kept my interest.
Yeah. However, I would like...
Well, you want a rematch on this? I don't think...
No, not a rematch.
I mean,
would
technically
like
the
to
next...
change the name of this book to fucking City of Liars.
City of Thieves.
Them too.
City of Killers. There we go. City of Killers.
City of fucking betrayal. And not.
Okay, so we start our... Let's go ahead and jump into this, because I got some notes.
So...
We start our journey after the tragedy at the Republic Fair, still unseen by you, since we're going
I don't know what happened
a little
there,
into the future.
But what I do know is it was probably bad, because everyone keeps comparing it.
Yeah, like everybody's like, man, it's not as bad as the Republic Fair.
I'm like, what the fuck happened at the fair? Is it better or worse than the fall of Starlight Beacon? Which hasn't happened yet in the timeline.
Although it does happen in this book.
It does happen in this book. And it does answer my question about where the fuck everybody else was.
Yeah, it does. And there's some other answers, because I started reading some of the comics that have been coming out as well. There's answers to come. So we get to see the homeworld and hometown of Han Solo.
Yeah.
Coronet City of Corellia.
Yeah. Man, this place sucks.
I mean...
It's great.
You've seen Solo, so you already knew that.
Yeah.
But we're basically on the first chapter, or prologue rather.
Yeah, the prologue.
We're following some hired bodyguards on it that are on assignment. We meet Pribolt and his hounds as he stands outside with his partner Ovardo as they guard Minister Nomar Traumat. Ovardo decides to smoke a death stick on the job when the hounds sense something is wrong.
A light death stick smoking is like the least of the problems
that they're about to come. Yeah, it's also the least of the problems that they're about to face.
Yeah. Oh, this is gonna kill me in 30 years. I'm worried about the next 30
seconds.
No, 30 seconds is more appropriate for this book.
But yeah, so, the hounds kind of sense something is off, and unfortunately, though, Pribolt is a little distracted thinking about his family, who live in the sewers because they can't stand being in sunlight without armor. Remember that for later. Because he is part of the same race as Lady Proxima.
Grindelids.
Grindelids, yes. Which they come in two forms. They can be the more large worm type, or they can be like the little short ones that can walk around more easily. Because there's also one in Solo that can do that as well. I forget his name. Moloch. Moloch, yeah. Because Moloch's the one that chases Han at the beginning of Solo.
I see.
Yeah, and so that's why he wears the armor, is because he's a Grindelid.
Yeah.
So yes. Still having a bad feeling, Pribolt goes into the building to find his client beaten, but alive.
Yep.
But also with a blaster pistol pointed at his head by an ear kit and a gas mask.
Yeah, pretty bad day.
So Pribolt sticks his hounds on the attacker while Ovardo is busy tripping over himself. I mean, is it wrong?
Oh no!
He walks into the door and immediately trips.
It's not wrong. It's just unfortunate.
So
Pribolt chases after the
ear kit. Yeah, because the ear kit throws down a gas bomb, causing Pribolt to be unable to see her.
Yeah.
Attack until the last second, which she comes at him with a bayonet. Pribolt manages to escape with the client, even shooting two more of the masked raiders as they go out into the sun. It turns out, though, that bayonet cut through his protective suit, letting the sun in and weakening him enough that he missed the raiders taking his client.
Whoops, that's not great.
Yeah, because he's kind of distracted by the burning.
Yeah, being on fire.
Yeah, it turns out that, he manages to weakly call his boss Crash and tell her that the attack looked like Nihil before the ear kit catches up, holding him down with her foot as the sun slowly tortures him to death.
Yeah, so not even the first chapter in the prologue, a man is fucking incinerated.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's get away from City of Lies and Killers and Thieves, and let's go ahead and go to Starlight Beacon, where we meet Ram.
Yeah.
Which, as you said, this is your first time meeting him. Ram Jammer.
Who is this weirdo, and why is he here?
So he is kind of a techie Jedi, so he likes his machinery and all that, so he's really useful there. And he lived on Valo, which was where the Republic Fair happened.
Playing with like a nuclear reactor or something?
something like that. Yeah.
I'm like, are you sure that's a good idea?
But yeah, he gets a call from his master Kumpar, who's like, "Hey, you want to come back to Valo and kind of help with that? Because I can sense that you're a little uneasy right now because Ram is having trouble dealing with his emotions."
The thing with Ram isn't that he's feeling a lot of emotions.
It's that he's feeling nothing.
Feeling a damn thing.
Yeah, it's the opposite problem of the usual problem in Star Wars.
Like most of the time, Jedi will probably be like, "Oh, that's a good thing," but Ram's like,
except not even really, because even Jedi admit that there needs to be a balance, especially in the High Republic era. We're in the era where balance is a good thing.
Yeah, but Ram's over here, he's like, "I don't like this, like at all."
Yeah, because Ram is like fighting with himself because he's like, I feel like this is right, but it's also wrong. Like they tell us that we shouldn't feel our emotions, but I feel like this is going too far.
Yeah,
and he's right.
Like,
his instinct is right.
It's the right thing for the wrong reason.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. No, it doesn't matter which way.
No, it's just wrong. It's just kind of wrong for him, unfortunately.
And he's like, I don't know, man. And like,
so Master Kumpar's trying to cheer him up and be like, "Hey, we're doing reconstruction here on your homeworld. Come get distracted with that." And he's like, "I don't know. I think my friends need me here still, so I'll kind of stick here for now.
I'll stay here for a little while."
And while he's talking with that, enter Zine Morala.
Yeah, another character who I know nothing about.
She also appears in the High Republic Adventures comic.
I'm like, who are you? What are you doing here?
Yeah. So basically, Zine comes in dancing.
Yeah.
And
Zine
is amazing.
Happy-go-lucky, and one spot of like fucking bright hope in this once again dark ass book. You keep taking me from tragedy to tragedy.
But so yes, Zine comes in dancing and it's like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, Master Kumpar, how's it going?" And of course, Kumpar's like, "It's good. All right, I've got to go."
He gets
basically
weirded out. He's like, "Oh, fuck this."
And Zine's like, "Well, that works out because we're late for a meeting.
Yeah.
Because we gotta go. We gotta just have this meeting because Starlight Beacon's all about meetings at this point." And as she's like trying to cheer Ram up because she can sense that something's wrong, because she met Ram in the events of the book. Right? I think. No, actually, she doesn't meet him till High Republic Adventures comic that introduced him, because he started in Race to Crash Point Tower, then he makes it. Yeah. But basically, this chapter is kind of giving you that rundown, anyways.
Yeah.
Like for all these characters you don't know.
This is like info dump.
Yeah,
chapter.
like if you have not read, I think that's what the High Republic is doing its best at trying to do, which is like, hey, you can just read the young adult novels, or you could just read the adult novels, or you could just read whatever. And they're still trying to make it to where if you're not reading the comics or anything, here's what you need to know about these characters that you may not have read yet. And that works especially when we get our next intro in this chapter, Lula Talasola.
Yeah.
Who's like, it's become, you guys aren't just late to a meeting, you're late to the actual mission briefing at this point, because it turns out that we heard about the thing that happened in the prologue.
Yeah, we got like a radio message. Not a radio message.
And actually, that's when Ram ends his call with Master Kumpar.
Like,
was when Lula enters.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, work calls. The other thing that sort of is like going across the Jedi.
Oh, do we want to jump to the other Jedi that's on the ship?
No, just in general.
Oh, okay.
Is like they're burnt out.
But yeah, like they're burnt
like,
out, and
it's been a year,
and it's something. It's actually been 2 years.
Sorry. Oh god, that makes it so much worse.
Yeah,
but they're like,
because I did
tired.
Because I did some research into the timeline. So it's been a few months since the Republic Fair, but it's been 2 years since Light of the Jedi.
But they're like, man, we are so tired of fighting these damn Nihil.
Yeah,
we know we have to because it's the right thing to do.
But how are we going to keep this up? Essentially,
we can't keep this up because the Nihil
by the time we
anywhere.
arrest one of them, 10 more pop up.
Yeah.
And that's something we'll go more in depth to as we get in, because it's something that's going to play heavy into this. So let's go back to Corellia. So Meanwhile, Pribolt's boss, Crash, is worried about him and Ovarto, but she's busy working for a band.
Yeah.
And can't go looking for them at the moment because, other gigs, because we learned that Crash's company, Supreme Coronet City Diplomat Protection, definitely needs a shorter name, by the way.
The SCDS.
Yeah. Well, it would be SCCDP, Supreme Coronet City Diplomat Protection.
S2CP.
S2CP.
Yeah.
Well, you're forgetting the D. S2CDP.
Fuck that.
That's still too long.
Fuck it. Crash's company.
Yeah. So we learned that Crash's company pretty much has a monopoly.
Yeah.
Beyond certain competitors such as Discaro.
Yeah.
And they also create false assailants for their clients, which is their current job.
Yep.
Their current job is essentially make this band more famous by having somebody attack them.
Yeah.
Because they're like a band that's up and coming.
Yep.
And so they're in like the town square where their concert is supposed to be. And but while they're preparing for this job, Crash is also considering that one of her other clients may be behind the attack on Traumont.
Yeah.
Because she's like, man, I protect like half this planet's diplomats. So like literally.
Like it's entirely possible that someone on my list of former protectees.
Or even current protectees.
Took out another one of them.
Yeah. So like it comes across her mind.
Yeah.
But while thinking on this, the square they were securing begins to be bombed by detonators, or at least it appears to be that way. To the surprise of everyone, including Crash's team, as their false assailant was supposed to use a knife.
Yeah.
The crowd is emptied with no casualties, leading Crash to believe the attack was purely theatrical. And because she believes it's purely theatrical, she believes only one person could be behind it. Discaro. Taking advantage of their team being weakened, which causes Crash to believe that Discaro might have also been behind the attack on Pribolt. Because, like, how else would he know that their team is weakened? But before she can deal with that, she has to save the current job by calling a reporter back to the square in time to see her crew save their current client from a monster.
Yeah.
Which her Wookiee was late because he was drugged.
Yep.
Discaro.
I think,
because it's implied that Discaro drugged, like, her team.
Oh, that's not what I thought the implication was.
Because she assumes that, like, oh, like, you were drugged because Discaro did it to fuck with me.
Like, I think that's what she thinks at the time, but the actual answer is so much better.
Oh, yeah.
I remember what
isn't he, like, wasn't he just, like, hungry? Or, like,
no.
What was it?
I think it was Spheno shot him.
Oh, yeah. So that's all on my written notes. But thankfully, I know what happens next. So we go back to Starlight Beacon, because we do this for a little bit. We're going hopping back and forth just a little bit.
And,
So like how Toki was made perpetually high. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, like Toki was made perpetually high. Yeah. That's probably a good one.
So, back on
Starlight Beacon, we get to see my favorite character, Wreath. He's my favorite High Republic character.
He's one of the good ones.
And so he's studying, as Wreath does. As a Wreath does, he's just in the library, because no matter what planet he's on, he's gonna find that library.
It's like, where are the books?
Where are the books? But even while he's reading the books, he knows that he's late.
Yeah.
Because apparently everybody on Starlight Beacon is just late to things.
Yeah.
So he is late to his practice with Master Comac.
Yeah.
And so he even looks at his watch and he's like, "Yep, I'm late."
It's like, shit, I gotta...
Or Chrono, rather, because they just have chronos.
Yeah.
They don't have watches.
He's like, shit, I gotta put my book up. Okay, fine.
So he makes his way to the training. We're going to kind of just talk about all this at once, because I think they jump away from the training to show us... It's still on Starlight, but they show us what's the mission debrief, and then they go back to training. But we're just going to show No, we'll do the mission debrief. So let's jump to the mission debrief with Ram, Zine, and Lula.
They're like
where they run into Jedi Masters Cantum Sai,
Yep.
who is Lula's master, and then is it Buckets of Is it Buckets of Blood? Is it Master Buck? Who's the other one there?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is because of the great joke in that one. Because there's a great joke about that. Because
another running theme in the story, Ram sucks at telling jokes.
yes, so Ram is trying to
He's trying
throughout
to
the book. He's trying to tell
works.
jokes, and Wreath kind of guides him a little
Like-
once we get Wreath in the mission brief. He's not there yet because he learns about all this afterwards, I think. No, he is at the mission brief. So let's go to his his practice duel because I think that does happen first.
Yeah.
So Wreath goes to the practice duel where him and Comac have their fight, and they kind of basically Comac is trying to teach him stuff, and he's like, "Wow, Wreath is actually a lot smarter already, and he's kind of got a lot of this down."
Yeah.
Like, in fact, Wreath is beating him in the fight.
Yeah, he said. But then again,
we already knew Wreath's combat skills were pretty good because
of Dez.
Because of Dez, yeah. So it makes
like Wreath is the only one who went with Dez to like lightsaber dueling class.
Yeah, well, because
and Dez was also pretty good at it.
Yeah, and it wasn't really to class; it would be private duels, kind of like this. Like Dez was like, well, it's kind of like I'm your big brother, so I'm gonna teach you how to fight.
Yeah, and so Comac's like, damn.
Yeah,
he already knows this.
Yeah, and so Ram comes in.
Yeah,
because Ram comes in and is like, "Hey, we got a mission briefing. You gotta get over there." And so but before that, Comac's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna peace out. I'm gonna go see Cantum Sai, talk some stuff real quick." And so in the meantime, don't rush to the meeting yet. I'll meet you there.
Yeah, I'll go with you guys. I gotta go and talk with Cantum about stuff.
So while they're waiting on Comac, Ram and Wreath are like, "Hey, you want to practice some fighting?" And they kind of get to know each other because this is the first time really that they've interacted. Like Wreath and Ram have heard of each other,
but I don't think
but they've never run into each other really. It's like when you know about other people at school because like you just hear your friends talk about them, but you don't actually you don't actually talk to them because you don't know them.
Yeah.
And so this would be the first time that they've interacted, and they're like, "Hey, you want to practice fighting? Cool." But we're not using these stupid sticks. We're going to use actual lightsabers.
Nah. What? You want to use the wooden practice? No. Let's get the real one.
But, of course, because they're not stupid, Wreath is like, okay, I'm going to slow down so that way he can...
I'm not going to go...
Basically, it's more about practicing their forms than actual combat practice, which... Sticks would be actual combat practice. This is more form practice. So he's like, I'm slowing down so that way Ram can like block my shots as they're coming at him. That way he has time to block them.
And so they do that.
And they talk, and this is where the humor thing comes in, because Ram tries to make some jokes while they're practicing, and Wreath's like, no, you see, you're doing it wrong. You can't be winking and stuff while you're telling me the joke. You got to do a straight face until the punchline.
Yep. It's like you have to work on your deadpan delivery, man.
Deadpan is where it's at.
Yep.
Okay. So, I guess...
And...
Is this the introduction of the Cantum storyline?
I think so.
Yeah, so Cantum and Comac are talking.
Yeah.
And Comac is dealing with it. He's unsure about his path of being a Jedi.
Yeah, because... Like, Comac, a running thing where you were like, I don't... Like, throughout the week, you were like, man, I didn't know Comac was, like, this vicious.
Like, I also didn't know Comac was struggling this hard with being a Jedi. Like I knew...
It was always there.
Like, Into the Dark, he was struggling a little bit, but it wasn't, like, this level.
No, but...
And I always assumed that Into the Dark kind of healed a lot of the issues that he had, but apparently not.
No, it didn't. Actually, at the end of the book, it was worse.
Yeah. Well, I think it fixed a little bit of it because of his relationship with Wreath is what I always thought.
The way that I...
Because I always thought him and Wreath were going to, like, kind of build each other up.
It was an attempt to do that.
Yeah.
But because I didn't get
obviously,
to see that.
Well, I think there's not a lot we see of Wreath. Yeah. We see, like, one more story with Wreath that we haven't gone over. It's the second of the young adult novels. And so, but like, and Comac's not really in it, so like, it's hard to tell. Like I think he's there, but Out of the Shadows is one that I kind of spaced on, so that's one I'm gonna have to really focus on when we read that one.
It was always there. In fact, I think Comac is getting more and more pissed off progressively throughout the series about like how Jedi have to act and do things.
Which that was always there into the dark immediate, like in the flashbacks, that was what he was dealing with, and so that was always there.
Yeah.
But I never saw him like being, as we'll get into it, I never saw him pulling an Elzar. Which he does. He still does not.
He doesn't.
But I never.
But man,
he gets
like,
close.
He's like, if one more, just let
bring
him do one more really fucked up bad thing.
Yeah, and so, and for that reference, watch our review of the Fallen Star to understand that reference of pulling an Elzar. Which is now our, like, I think that's our go-to saying whenever, like, a Jedi does something really violent.
Yeah, like, for needlessly, or, like, because things are just so shit.
Well, so Steven is watching. As far as, like, going to, because he says, sounds like someone needs to go to the neutral side. I'd say less going to the neutral side, because so in canon, Gray Jedi isn't a thing. Like, it's barely a thing in Legends, too. Like, it's kind of there, but it's not really a thing. And in canon, it's definitely not there, because canon tries to stick more to the idea of if you dip into the dark side, that's kind of like using a drug, and you're just going to keep wanting more of it until eventually the dark side wins. Which I think that's something that all of our Jedi characters in the High Republic series are dealing with, is that they're dipping into the dark side a little bit.
We have to
because
the situations are so extreme.
But unfortunately,
sometimes if we don't, we'll just die.
But unfortunately, I think it's coming at a cost.
Yeah,
and we're seeing that cost paid. Like Elzar had to pay that cost.
Yeah,
and we're seeing other characters that, because we'll get into Comac's story more, but like, I guess I'll kind of give it away. We're seeing Jedi that are like, look, I'm done, because if I stay involved, I'm just going to have to keep dipping, and I can't afford that.
Yeah. It's like, do you want this conflict to end? Good. Pay your soul up front.
Yeah, and that's something that, and that's a thing of, and that's a question, and that becomes a moral question of, well, can they do it without paying their soul up? Like, for their soul, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think it's possible.
It's just extremely difficult.
You got to put the work in, yeah. And the right path is not always the easiest path.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the lesson there, I guess.
But
going back into it.
Yeah.
Cantum, he's sharing this with Cantum, and of course Cantum's like, well, I've got a story for you. Because, my Jedi training was not the easiest either.
Yeah.
So they go ahead and tell their story. And we get it in chunks.
Yeah.
But I get, so that love story, that Jedi love story that we heard about in Light of the Jedi and how they read romance novels. This is basically that.
Yeah.
This is basically like, if you wanted that in Star Wars, this is it.
This is the one where that is.
I know, and it doesn't go full in the same degree as like as what we would imagine one of those books going. But this is pretty close. This is pretty close to it though. I would like to see one even that goes even further into the tropes, but this gets pretty close.
So canon is basically like, there was a point in time where Yoda just told me, and Yoda is Cantum's former master.
Correct, which Yoda kind of trains a lot of people, but yeah, I think Cantum was directly under Yoda.
Like one of his former apprentices. Yeah. And he's like, I think you should take some time away from the Order.
Yeah, so this is kind of answering your question, Steven. He says, I thought there would be at least some Force users that just kind of go away and chill. And this is kind of in that vein. Because you can leave the Order and kind of just not, like, practice being a Jedi. But there's a difference between, like, using the dark... There's a difference between going neutral and that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't call that being neutral, because I would say you'd still be trying to practice using the light side during that time. Or you do what Cantum does, which is they choose to just almost not quite cut themselves off, but just not use it.
Yeah. Just don't until you actually really need to.
But yeah, so Yoda's like, yeah, you can just leave. That's always been an option.
He's like, we'll welcome you back, like.
Yeah, because you're still
you're still my Padawan.
Yeah, you're still a Jedi.
You're not like being thrown out.
Yeah, which is
as a matter of fact, I'm telling you to leave.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm giving you this option because I think it might be good for you.
Yeah,
and so they leave.
Yeah,
and Cantum's. And on top of that, Cantum is also dealing with these romantic feelings that they have for our. I know it's our. I always get the name wrong as I was reading it.
An acrobat.
Yeah, it's an acrobat.
And they're like, maybe.
Yeah. You can keep going. I'm just looking at.
He's like, I don't know what to do with this. And the acrobat, whose name I don't remember either, is like, I don't want you to leave the order for me. And so,
and yeah, Cantum's like, nah, I'm not leaving it for you. I'm leaving it because I have to deal with my situation.
Yeah,
and you can't tell me not to leave. So there.
You can't. Well, you thought you had a choice in this? No, you don't.
This is my decision.
And so,
which I think that's a fair argument for Cantum to make because they are right. It is not the decision of the person that they love. It is their decision. Yeah. While yes, maybe they're a factor into that decision,
they're not the person who gets to decide.
Yes.
So that happens, and then I think we flash forward to the present day.
Yeah, we come back. Yeah, so like yeah, we'll come back to Cantum's story, and I'm gonna try to figure out the name of their lover as we go through this. But yeah, so we go back to the present where they are dealing with. They go to the meeting.
Yeah, they go to the meeting.
So they have a couple pieces of news. Mm-hmm. One, they figured out where Crix has been hiding, which is
once again, I'm like, I have no context for
who
this is. I'm like, I guess it's good that you found that guy.
But once again, I think the book also does a good job of going, this is who they are for those of you who have not read the comics.
Lula's former friend?
Yeah, or Zine's former friend.
Sorry. Like
yeah, Lula and Zine are easy to,
former friend who, like, went over to the Nihil?
Yeah, because Zine grew up in a society that was like, the Force is bad, and if you're a Force user, you're evil.
Yeah.
And, of course, that wasn't great for Zine.
No, probably not.
Because Zine was a Force user. And Zine's like, well, I guess I gotta hide that. And unfortunately, though, one day the Nihil came up on their planet and was like, destruction to everybody, and the Jedi came to save the day. But in the process, Zine had to use her powers to save people. And Crix saw that and was like, you lied to me all those years. You're a Force user. You're evil. I'm going to join the Nihil.
How dare you?
And so, yeah, and Crix has done some bad things in the process of being a Nihil.
How dare you have superpowers?
And not tell me. In a society where we deem it as evil.
Yeah. But I'm like,
so yeah,
sure,
so they're like, we found Crix, and Crix is, we can use this to find out like more information about the Nihil if we can capture him.
Yeah.
So at first they give the Lula the job of finding him, just Lula, because they're like, oh yeah, Lula, basically we're trying to test you for knighthood.
Yeah.
This is basically your Jedi Trials.
A lot of them are being tested for knighthood.
Yeah, a lot.
With the exception of Ram, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of them, this is their Jedi Trials.
Yeah.
Zine, of course, is not being tested because Zine is still not a Jedi.
Yeah,
Zine is just a Force user that hangs out with Jedi. That's basically
just around.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that she cares for Lula a lot.
Yeah.
One might even say romantically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Zine, of course, volunteers. Zine, of course, volunteers as well.
Yeah.
To deal with this issue.
I really hope things work out for them.
Yeah. But yeah, Zine, of course.
I need fucking one.
You need one romance to work out.
I need one moment of like happiness.
Like one of these romances.
One of them.
Yeah.
Because last time,
well, let's see.
Shame on you, Reith, but maybe screen your options a little bit.
Maybe do a little bit of Facebook stalking before you Google their name.
Make sure they're not on any wanted registers.
Google their name. Maybe. You never Google.
Shouldn't be that hard.
Like you've never Googled your date. You see their name on Tinder, and so you're like, oh, let me Google that. Make sure you're not a serial killer or a terrorist of some sort.
Nan, why are you wanted in 3 states for arson, murder, and jaywalking?
But yeah, and then the other romances are not that great either because it's Avar and Elzar. And so Elzar's not having much luck there either.
Well, Elzar's having the problem that I think a lot of Force users that are empaths have, and they get to feel everything from everybody all the time.
Although he's not the same level as some of the other characters we've dealt with.
He's not.
Like I would say Emery's much more
powerful, but it's still the same
yes.
Problem.
I think Elzar's problem is more to deal with the fact that he just doesn't know how to share his feelings properly or how to control his emotions.
Yeah.
Like he has the Jedi problem of I don't know how to control my emotions because I have been sheltered my entire life and therefore have not been taught how to deal with emotions.
Thanks, Jedi. I understand you guys do a lot of good.
And I understand I understand you try to teach us these things for the right reason, but maybe lean a little bit more into like the mental side of what that does. Because they're not terrible for trying to teach this lesson. Because the lesson is not don't feel emotions, it's learn to control them.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is the Jedi, especially in the prequel era. I'd say it's less of a problem right now. I think the High Republic has less of that issue because a lot of Jedi are in relationships without it being a problem in the High Republic era, as we've seen. It's more to do with the fact that they don't know how to process them because the Jedi never taught them, hey, we're telling you to have balance, but we're not going to tell you how.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Yeah. So
solve for X.
Yeah. So going back into the Jedi meeting.
Yeah.
They have their meeting. They learn about where Crix is, and so Lula and Zine volunteer to deal with it.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, that's really all we need to send.
Yeah. They're like two guys.
And also, it'll keep it to where it's quiet.
Yeah.
And so the other mission that comes up,
they're like, go to this city and figure out if the Nihil are actually there.
Yeah, because they basically hear the call that Pribolt made, because apparently not only did it get to crash, it also got to the government officials, and the government officials are like, we don't think the Nihil are here.
Well, Administrator Fenderfall.
Yeah, Fenderfall, yeah.
We were, like, discussing, and I'm like, she's not in on it.
Yeah, because at first when you meet them, it sounds such like they're in on it because of like how Fenderfall kind of like immediately dismisses it, more so than the usual like kind of dismissal. Like it's more of like even if they are here, it's not our problem.
Yeah, you're over here like they've got to be in on it. And I'm like they're not. They're just dumb,
which is worse.
Yeah, and I'm like, God, you're not evil, you're just stupid. Like, I understand though because a lot of backdoor dealings happen on Corellia throughout this book.
And Cantum's lover is Atar. I knew it started with an A. I couldn't get there. But yeah.
Like, there are so many backdoor dealings in this book.
Yeah, so basically...
And, like, just on Corellia in general.
Yeah, so basically the team that they decide to send is they got Ram,
they got
Reef,
Ram, Reef, Comac,
and Cantum. And so, going back to Master Buck, he makes fun of Pribolt's name.
Yeah.
Or Crash's name. He makes fun of Crash's name because Pribolt is saying, Crash, Crash, and they're like... Are they making their own sound effects? And they're like, no, that's a person's name, and it's like that's a nickname. And Master Buck's like, who would call themselves such a silly nickname? And everybody's like silent because they're like, wait a minute, But you have a nickname called Buckets of Blood, which is a handy nickname when you're going out to fight people, but it's not so great when you're trying to save people,
Yeah.
which is ironic because of the fact that he's called Buckets of Blood, not because of the killing, but because he's the Jedi healer.
Yeah.
And so his whole thing is like, well, I'm called Buckets of Blood because don't you want to hear that the Jedi is coming back to save you with their buckets of, like, restore your buckets of blood? No. No, it sounds like you're here to kill me.
That sounds like, oh, we have the guy that puts you to sleep forever coming.
And so, Zine is thinking on it, and she's like, it's a great name if you're, like, trying to scare the Nihil, but not so great when you're...
Yeah.
And so, like... They eventually, like, he eventually starts laughing at it because he either they're unsure if he realized it afterwards or if he was just messing with them the whole time. Like, it's just unsure.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, so that's the missions. Everybody's going on their missions.
Yep. So
which mission do we want to follow? I guess we should follow the shorter mission first.
Yeah. So they go and they find Crix.
Yeah.
In, like, the space of, I'm going to assume, like, a day.
Yeah, I'd say like a day or maybe even a few days.
Like a day to a week, maybe?
And maybe not even a week, because I would argue,
maybe.
I would argue a week is what happens with the whole Corellia storyline. I'd say that one takes the week, whereas the other one might take a few days of that week.
Yeah, like maybe 1 to, like, 4 days. So they go and they find him.
Yeah, they almost immediately.
They get him.
Almost immediately, yeah.
Like, he tries to run away and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't help that a lot of his enforcers are on Corellia.
Yeah, they're all gone. He's like, I guess I could take 2 Jedi by myself.
Especially since I know them both, so I can mess with their heads in the process. Yeah. Oh, no, that didn't work.
Nope, didn't work.
They've learned my tricks. Dang it.
Oh, well, shit. And so they're like, we're gonna interrogate you?
Yeah. And so Zine has the brilliant idea, because I wrote about this when I was reading.
You were like, that's
so smart. That's something that one of your characters would do.
They're like, yeah, that girl's already working for us, basically.
Yeah, so basically Zine pretends that she's doing, like, digging into his mind, and is like, I know all your secrets.
Yeah.
And they bring up the ear kit. And they're like, we already know that she's working for you. And he's like, what? No, you don't. What? Like, he's basically giving away that she's right. As she's like just building up on lies.
Yeah.
Like, the only stuff that she knows.
She knows that there's probably an air kit.
Yes, because they mentioned some stuff that happens in High Republic Adventures comic, which is like the destruction of the Jedi Temple on Takodana. Mm-hmm. And so she's lying when she says that it was scheduled to be destroyed. That's an outright lie.
Yeah.
But in that story, they meet the ear kit, they meet her, and they meet her sister, and one of them actually was turning good, whereas the one that Sabata is no, she's still evil. Sabata is like still like complete Nihil loyal, although not loyal to Crix.
No.
Because she actually did want Crix to get killed.
So
basically, they're pulling half-truths, and in these half-truths, Crix is just giving away the plot.
Mm-hmm. Like, I love that you're like, man, this is some Sips bullshit here.
But am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Sips would just fucking lie.
Just pretend that you're doing a mind trick, make him think you're torturing him, and then you know, he'll give it all.
Speaking.
So yeah, and of course Lula's watching this. Like, at first she was worried that she was like, Zine, you can't just dig into his mind, and she's like, don't worry, I got this.
Like, I can't actually do that, but don't let him know I can't do that.
So yeah, so eventually he gives away pretty much everything that the Nihil are indeed on Corellia.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're also on a nearby moon where they're planning to stage they're planning a huge attack.
Gus Talon.
Yeah, Gus Talon, because there's 2 moons of Corellia that start with Gus, and then he gives away that it's Talon because there's only one with a T because he says Gus.
Fuck.
Yeah. And so yeah,
they're like, thanks.
So
we're just gonna leave you in the cell now.
yeah, they basically are like, we've arrested you now. Have a good one.
Like he tries to like egg her.
Like he
into
tries
killing
to,
him,
yeah,
but it doesn't work.
yeah, because Zine like is like, you're not worth it,
Yeah.
essentially.
Um,
Because that would have brought Zine. It's brought up later that it would not do Zine any good to kill him.
yeah.
So yeah, so Zine and Lula are like, all right, cool. Now we got to go to Gus Talon.
Yep.
And that's when they get a phone call from Reith and Ram about stuff that we haven't talked about yet. Where basically they're like, hey, we need some help here on Corellia, and Zine's like, well, I'll go, I guess.
But someone's got to take.
But someone's still got to go to Gus Talon, and that's Lula. Because Lula, like,
it's not that. It's someone still has to take Crix to be held in actual.
Oh yeah.
Holding facility.
But not only that, like Lula also says that she's going to go to Gus Talon as well. Which, of course,
I think the plan.
Zine's like, I don't want to leave you, and Lula's like, nah, it's okay.
I think the plan is for Lula to take Crix to like jail
and then meet
back up on Gus Talon.
Yep.
That doesn't happen.
No. And like it's a sad moment for Zine.
Yeah.
Because Zine's like, I don't want to leave you because I love you, but I can't say that yet.
But emotions are hard.
But yeah, I love you.
And we're a bunch of teenagers fighting a war.
Yeah. So I guess we'll discuss this later.
Yeah.
Stay safe is basically the consensus. And so yeah, so they separate, and we'll come back to what Zine's part of the story is after we go through the rest of the Corellia arc. All right. So Reith and Ram get there first because basically the Jedi separate. Yeah. I can't remember the exact situation of why that happened.
Basically Reith and Ram are actually fucking having a good time up until they get to Corellia.
Oh yeah, like they're just partying on the way.
Basically having like fucking pillow fights and shit, while Cantum and Comac are like driving.
Yeah. Which of course Cantum's telling more of a story, which involves him falling in love with Adar more, and you know,
listening.
Yeah, Comac's listening, and then eventually, I guess we'll kind of wrap up the Comac, the Cantum of it all, and so Cantum basically has to leave Adar because they realize, okay, look, I need to be back with. Well, no, it has nothing to do with Adar, because it's one day they see some people getting attacked.
Yeah.
On the planet that Adar and Cantum have been living on. Yeah. Which they've been kind of going around from planet to planet because Adar's in the circus, acrobat. Cantum helps out every now and then by using the Force to do cool stuff. And so...
really ratcheting up attention from time to time.
Yeah, you know, leaves them in the air a little bit and then lets them fall. And so... but Cantum sees that these people are in help. They're being attacked.
I forgot. Fuck. They're called like Vanishers or something.
Yeah, and
or like that's what
something like that. Yeah.
Name. I'm like, oh, well, that's not good.
So Cantum manages to save like one of the these kids that are getting attacked, but as Cantum is about to be like beaten completely by one of these things, another child stops it with the Force.
He isn't. No.
I thought he was about to like completely lose, though. I thought
he wasn't.
Or they, sorry, they were.
He wasn't about to lose.
Yeah, they.
The Vanishers, which are basically like vultures. But
oh yeah, they were taking a kid away.
They were taking 2 kids away.
2 kids away.
And
he knocks it down.
He doesn't knock it down.
No.
The Vanisher is like, hey, but you couldn't stop this kid from hitting the ground before it dies.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Because that's how birds kill.
Yeah.
They just go, they pick stuff up, and they drop it.
Yep. See, this is why I have you here to like get the finer
Which is
details.
A great D&D tactic. If you're like, no breath weapon? Okay.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, but I've used it before.
But yeah.
Birds suck, man.
But yeah, so Cantum finally draws on the Force for realsies this time.
And he's like,
and they save these one of them,
this girl, and he's like, oh fuck, I didn't get the other one.
Yeah, But they watch as this kid saves the other one.
Yeah.
And so they're like, how'd you do that? And she's just like, I was watching how you did it.
She's like, I saw you do it.
I just did what you did. And she starts like seeing them
like,
cry.
am I
Cantum starts
trouble?
crying, and they're like, no, you're not in trouble. And she's like,
trouble at
why are you crying then? And they're just like, because it's just kind of amazing what you did, essentially.
I did a good.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And so
She's like, did I do a bad? No, you did a good.
the Valak special is what Steven called the bird drop, I think.
Oh.
But yes. So they learn the name of this child. It is Lula Talasola.
Yeah.
So we learn how they got Lula as an apprentice. Because they bring Lula back, and they come back to Yoda, and they're like, hey, so I learned my lesson, I think.
Yeah.
And Yoda's like, cool, welcome back.
Oh, another important thing throughout this book, no one knows where the fuck Yoda is.
Yeah, so
It has
been.
for like a while.
I'd
like a couple of months,
I'd say it's more than that.
Well, I don't have all of the books.
So his disappearance is in High Republic Adventures, and it's pretty early on in the book series. It's actually I think it's in the volume that I gave you. And so because basically he in the comic, I'm not going to give away too much. He sneaks onto a Nihil ship and just disappears after that.
Okay.
Like Yoda is just like on a secret mission to like figure out what's going on. So yeah, in present day, no clue where Yoda is.
He's
just in the wind.
He's just gone.
So
Just gone.
So yeah, Ram and Wreath kind of get separated from Comac and Cantum when they get to Corellia.
Because Comac and Cantum were like, we'll go and deal with like the adult
the politics
stuff. You guys go and see what you can dig up about this Crash person.
Yeah, and so funny enough, they run into Crash.
Wreath and Ram have actually become pretty good friends.
Yeah, like during this travel time.
Yeah.
You know, they're both kids, around near adulthood.
Yeah.
So like they're just kind of like,
they're like a bunch.
Let's do kid stuff.
High schoolers. They're like.
Yeah, late high schoolers that are like, let's party still. Let's do some of the kid stuff, but let's not like admit that we're doing kid stuff.
Yeah. They're like, let's not admit that we're just going to the arcade.
Yeah. And so they start to walk down what they think is a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And no, car basically comes running at them, and thankfully Crash is there to save them.
Yeah.
So, and Crash is just like, what are you like farmers think you're doing? And of course Wreath is offended. He's like, I'm from Coruscant. I am not.
He's like, excuse you.
I am not some outer rim gutter rat.
Ram's like, I am though.
And so,
is there anything cool to do around here?
So yeah, and Crash is like, yeah, you can hang out with me. That's like the coolest thing you could do. In fact, I'm gonna get you involved in. Go? Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna get you involved in all my operations now. I'm gonna pay you.
Meanwhile,
and so yeah,
Wreath is also having an internal moment of like,
because Wreath similar to Ram is having like internal crisis sort of, but not. It's the opposite problem.
Yeah, Wreath is feeling very much like everything.
In fact, immediately starts to pick a crush on Crash.
And he's like,
Is she flirting with me? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Am I picking up vibes?
But he's also
like
experience, he's like, wait a minute.
I can't do a Nan. Nope.
I can't do a Nan. And he also, I think, mentions what's her name? Miss Prodigy.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Vern.
Vern. And he's like, I can't do that either.
Like, yeah, which the Vern problem is more if he just hasn't told her how he feels.
And he's like, is this what people call having a type?
Yeah, because he realizes that, like, a lot of them have, like, very similar, like, at least bone structure, like the way their faces are and all that. Like, and maybe some of like their hair is usually a weird color.
Yeah.
But like,
and he's like, no, I can't just start trusting every pretty face I come across.
So what I'm getting is Wreath likes like scene emo girls. Reith is into some
poor man.
Reith. I've been there. Like Reith as a fellow nerd. You might never get those scene girls. It's just not happening, buddy. Scene girls and nerds, while you have some similar like cliques that you might be a part of, the romances never work out. It's just a heads up, Reith.
I love that Reith is like, I gotta proceed with caution. I'm not falling for that shit.
Which is good because we learned that Crash is in love with somebody else.
Yeah.
And Reith is not exactly her type.
Yeah.
Because Reith is a guy.
Yep. Another relationship, Crash and Spheno. I really hope that works out.
I think that one's gonna work out.
Yeah.
I think that Spheno is.
But they need to get the fuck off Corellia.
Yeah. So Crash Crash starts to pull them into her shenanigans.
Yeah.
And is like, hey, I'm gonna make you dress up as kid assassins on one time.
Yeah.
And we're also like, basically you guys are gonna gather information for me.
Yep.
Here's two credits.
Yep. Crash has a weird mental thing in which she's like, just take the money.
Yep.
So that I can
say that I've hired you.
Say that I've hired you. And like,
and they're like, but we're Jedi, and she's like, I get that, but look.
It's like 2 fucking credits
for
nothing.
For legal reasons, take the money.
Yeah. And they're like, okay. I love that one of their complaints about the like fucking suits are they're like, how the fuck did they assassinate anybody in these?
Yeah.
Because the suits are like fucking bright red with gold tassels and shit.
Yeah.
And they're like
you
couldn't kill anybody in
also
this.
like you'd be like so obvious.
Yeah.
So like they go around and they start doing like different missions of like learning about and they learn about Crash and her team and
they also learn that Crash fucking doesn't tell anybody a lot.
Yeah.
She like
also big thing about Crash's story before we go too far in, because before she meets Reith and Ram, she gets a little visit. She gets a little visit from the Grandolids.
Oh yeah. They're like, hey, by the way,
so
you don't find
because we found out basically Pribolt's mom comes up and is like, I heard my son is dead. Look, because of how Grandolid culture works, we need to have vengeance on whoever killed him. So you better tell us who that is. And Crash is like, I don't know yet. And they're like, well, you better find out in like a week or we're going to kill you.
Yeah. You have a week to find the killer or we'll consider you responsible.
And she's like, well, fuck me.
Like, oh, no.
So, yeah, that's what Crash is dealing with.
Crash is trying to find Pribolt's killer.
Yes, and so she's using Reith and Ram basically to be info gatherers because they're people that nobody knows. Because obviously the main person that she thinks it could be is Descaro, who like knows her team. So she's just like, well, I'll send in people that Descaro doesn't know.
Yeah.
On top of that, let's also mess up Descaro's stuff by
let's frame one of his clients for a crime that they actually almost commit.
Which we'll jump back to that because before that happens, let's deal with what Cantum and Comac are dealing with, which is the bogged down politics of Corellia.
So they go and they meet with Administrator Fendrafal, who isn't evil. They're just dumb.
They're
in denial.
So Fenderfall is like, yeah, Nihil aren't here. This is as close to the core as it can be. F the Nihil, they ain't here. Also, we don't like outsiders that aren't Corellians.
Yeah. And they're like, at the moment, there's like a couple of situations you guys can look into if you really want.
Yeah. We need you to go to this. Also, go to this party because we need Jedi faces there. And so, yeah.
There will be some people. You can talk to them about whatever.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, I guess.
So, yeah, these people. So, this party. So, let's talk about this party.
This party
is so disrespectful.
Oh.
Because this isn't the Nihil party, but it's the other party before that. Because there are two parties. This is the party before that, which is still pretty disrespectful. It's supposed to be a remembrance thing for Traumat. But they kind of twist it into being like, oh, yeah, they twist it into being kind of disrespectful because of some of the people there.
Yeah.
They just don't take it seriously.
Yeah, and one of them,
who we should not be surprised was the most disrespectful of them all because they're related to a family that we hate because they were in War of the Bounty Hunters.
I'm trying to remember which one. Which one it is.
Here's it's that company.
Tag.
Yeah, it's the tags.
Fucking tags.
Yeah, because there's
seems that scumbaggery doesn't skip generations too hard now, does it?
No. So we'll get to it.
Sorry.
So
I think that was the most like ruthless gutting of a family I've ever.
Yeah. So like so obviously Crash is still there publicly, and she runs into Descaro, and they start. Descaro's like, "I've got a great sing. Seems your last job didn't go so well. I've got this great new up and coming singer as my client." And Crash is like, "Oh, you mean that up and coming singer that keeps getting into like TMZ all the time because they keep trying to eat endangered species?" He's like, "Shut up! Shut up!
Like, shut up!
Shut up!
Don't talk about my boss that way.
Don't talk about my clients."
And
so she manages to distract him enough to steal like his like comm off of his pocket.
And so
after she does that, Tag comes up and it starts being disrespectful about like, Traumat.
It's not Traumat.
Or no, Primal.
It's about Primal.
Yeah, that's right. So Tag says
the suggestion he makes is super fucked up.
Yep.
And it's like, about those hounds, I heard that they'll eat anything. And
because he's suggesting that the hounds turned on Primal, and
the straw that broke the camel's back.
Like she was fine with them shitting on Traumat, like not really, like she was holding it, but she was like not really fine with it.
She's like, it does. The exact words of the book are, Crash knew the next thing out of his mouth would be the thing that caused her to punch him.
Which she does.
Yeah.
So Tag says that thing about the hounds, and immediately she's like, "Well, I guess we're fighting.
Today's the day."
Sucker punches him.
Goes down like a sack of potatoes.
Which it's so satisfying to see a Tag put in their place.
Oh, fucking... I forgot about the Tag part. I was like, man, you shouldn't say that shit. Thank God. Unfortunately,
that causes like an entire thing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, though, our Padawans are not in the room anymore because at the party, Cantum and Comac immediately see them and they're like, basically, it's a you. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? And they immediately drag them into the bathroom so that way they can privately talk because the costume assassins that they have taken on are children that have cut their tongues, which was the reason Crash picked that assignment for them because she was like, because now you can't say anything stupid.
Yeah. Also, people will be scared shitless.
Yeah. So people will
be. They like terrorize. Corellia a century ago.
Yeah. They people like the room. The fact is that they died out, but the rumor is that they're still around.
Ah, I see.
So like people still think that they just hide in the shadows and still kill people, but the reality is it's a long gone group.
Fucking assassinate someone dressed in bright red with gold tassels.
So Comac and Canton pull the apprentices into the bathroom essentially, and they're like, "Okay, now we can talk." Yeah, and they basically shared the information they both gathered.
Each other up on the plot, and they're like, the conclusion is like, great, we've been here for like,
and we've learned basically nothing.
And we don't know a damn thing.
The most we've learned is that it could be anybody.
Like,
the one thing that they can confirm that they decided is that the Nihil are absolutely on Corellia. That's like the one thing. They just don't have evidence.
Yeah, we don't have evidence, and we don't know where they are on Corellia specifically.
Yeah.
Or why, or what they want.
Yeah.
We know they're here. We don't know anything else, though.
Yeah, and so basically they come to the conclusion of, all right, well, we're just going to go back to our bedroom, like, go to our, like, the hotel that we're staying in, essentially, and you two, we'll keep doing what we're doing at the moment, but
since it seems to be kind of working out.
Yeah, so you guys keep dealing with Crash, and we'll keep dealing with the government side. And so, so they go back to the hotel room, and in the middle of the night, Crash is like, hey, you two want to go back into another job? I got something else for you.
And they're like, it's better than us being shot at for like the last 6 months, so sure.
Yeah, and she's like, cool, because I stole Descaro's walkie-talkie, and I figured out a way to really mess with him.
Yeah.
And so, basically, Wreath cannot.
He's like me. He's
Wreath is
really
not an
bad
actor.
Liar.
Yeah, Wreath is not an actor. So basically, the Wookiee, it's the big bruiser member of the group. I forget their name. Savrip or whatever.
It's either Savrip or Tangor.
Yeah. Anyways, it's Savrip.
Tangor's the Wookiee.
Yeah, Tangor's the Wookiee. Savrip's the big. I forget the name of the race, but it's ninth sister from Jedi Fallen Order's race. The big hulking one.
Shit.
The big hulking one. That race.
I don't know.
Anyways, they're like really big. Like, they're if you want muscle, that's who you get. So Savrip's like, hey, go ahead and make this call to the singer that's the client of Descaro.
She's the same race as that lady.
She's the same as Devilumpop.
Fucking eats people.
Yeah, she's the same race of them, which explains a lot of the chapter of this
like
chapter.
A bird lady.
Yeah, and so, but like a vulture almost, like a bird of a predator bird, like so not a vulture, but like I guess what's a hawk?
A peregrine?
Like a hawk almost, like that. Basically, like hunts down their prey and like.
Yep.
So although in her case, her prey tends to be, endangered species.
Yep.
So
a brief side note.
Yeah.
Ram has these like little rat buddies.
Yeah, and there's they're throughout the High Republic Adventures comic as well, and they're original creation of Daniel Jose Older, and they're really cool.
They're really cool.
I like them. He's actually made like on TikTok. He made like a almost life size one that you can put on your shoulder.
They talk.
Yeah, they can talk, and they have like this weird language.
Yeah.
But like Ram can understand them for the most part because he's like friends with all of them because a lot of them come from his planet of Valo.
And so
and that's an important side note. So it's good you brought that up.
Yeah.
So
they're like, go talk to this singer lady.
Yeah, talk to the singer lady, pretend you're like one of Descaro's like guards, and try to figure out where she is so we can like basically not frame her, but frame her.
Yeah.
Because like we're gonna do what she was gonna do anyways.
Yeah.
But we're gonna also
catch her in the act.
Yeah, we're gonna catch her basically undercover because we're gonna get the police and some other groups involved.
Except they don't get the police.
Well, the police are there, but it's not like. But they're not the ones that do that because it's the animal rights group. But they said that they had the police on their side.
The police actually aren't on the planet
because they're on the moon.
Because they're over on the moon, and Gus Talon and all the like local Jedi are also.
And that's why like.
Which is why
the Nihil think that the Jedi aren't even on Corellia. They think, oh, we got this.
They're like, it's gonna be
because they think Gus Talon made the ultimate distraction.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why the police aren't there, but like they're still involved.
There's like the district police involved, but not the planetary police.
Yeah. So like the Coronet City Guard essentially are still Corosec, essentially, I think is what they're called.
Yeah.
That comes from Legends, which I think Corosec being involved would make one of my co-hosts on Mando Mondays happy, because he likes Corran Horn, who's a Legends character from Corosec. Anyways, back on topic.
Yeah.
So Wreath makes the call, and he's terrible at lying and acting. He's like, "Should I do a voice? No, I shouldn't do a voice. I'm doing a voice. Oh, and now I changed the voice."
Yeah, he's like, "Why did I do that?
Why did I do the voice?" And so he basically manages to get the like. So it seems that Descaro, like this lady, is like really attracted to Descaro and wants to like have sex with him because she's just like, "Oh, Descaro wants to see me. Oh, what's he got planned for me?
Better go and see what he wants."
Yeah. And so he's like, "Well, it's not Descaro with me, but I'm gonna come pick you up for a dinner." That Descaro is playing. She's like, "Oh, a dinner.
Yeah.
How nice." And so she's like, "All right. well, and he's like, well, you already know where I'm at. And he's like, no. What? I think it's this hotel. And she's like, no, it's this hotel. And so that's how they get the hotel name, because Reith gives the wrong hotel first. And then, because Reith basically took a shot in the dark. He's like, is it this hotel? And they're like, no, it's this one, duh.
Like,
which that's going to come back to bite him.
And so
it's basically that moment of role playing. Like if you played a tabletop game where you've tried to make a guess on something, but
like, there's only 4 inns in this town. They've got to be at one of them.
And so you make a guess, and then the villain that you're trying to lie to is like, no, it's this one. And unfortunately, that's also what gave away the fact that you're not who you say you are. Which that has happened to me a bit, where I'm like, I try to give info, but unfortunately, when I try to lie and put that info in, it's the wrong info, and therefore that's what catches me.
Yeah.
Not the fact that I was bad at lying, but the fact that I used the wrong piece of information.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so Reith and Savrip are like, okay, well, we're gonna go to the front. Yeah. Savrip's like, I'm gonna go with you because you're a terrible liar, and I'm gonna
basically like, man.
Because I was going to go with Ram. I was going to go with Ram, who's got to set up this box here, which he gives to Ram, and he's like, you can open it if you want, but don't really. Like, it's the food that she's going to have. Yeah. And Ram's like, oh, so it's just some animal, right? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And Ram's like, okay, well, like, I feel bad about feeding an animal to.
No, I think Smeemarm actually.
Smeemarm, yeah, it's Smeemarm. You're right.
Goes with Ram to get the animal at the same time that Reith is
like lying
and setting the like.
Is it still Savrip with them, or is
so?
Yeah. So Smeemarm eventually gives him the food, the box, and Savrip's like, I was gonna go with Ram to make sure the box goes where it's supposed to, but after watching your lying,
like, I gotta go get the food. I need to walk off that horrible lying you just did.
So Savrip's like, I'm gonna be on comm with you because like you cannot lie. And he's like, Ram, you're on your own. And Ram's like, okay, I guess. And Ram, like, on his way there is like, I feel bad about like leaving this box here, but it's just an animal, right? Like, because like Ram's like, I feel bad for animals, but like I'm a techie guy, so like it's not the same to me. Like as it is to most people, like most people will be like, oh, the poor animal. Where Ram's like, I feel bad, but not that bad.
Yeah,
and then he opens the box.
Opens the box, and it's one of his little
rat-like creatures that are sentient. Which they take offense to that because Crash calls them that a lot. Like she calls them rats and stuff all the time, and they're like, hey, what? And so he realizes, wait a minute.
A language. We can talk.
Yeah, and that's when Ram is like, oh, wait, no.
No.
I'm not feeding this to her.
Yeah. And I'm like, I was like discussing this with you yesterday while we were going over something else that
we'll talk about in a bit.
And I was like, wait a minute. That makes it even worse. Because now it's not just like killing an endangered animal. No.
You're killing an endangered sentient species. It's a genocide.
That's actual murder.
Yeah, it's actual murder and basically a genocide.
Yeah.
It's an act of genocide anyways.
Yeah.
If not a full-out one, because she's not killing every single one that we know of, although she does, apparently she's had this before.
Yeah. And I'm like... And then I was like, why aren't the police involved?
Like, this
like,
is just
not
a straight-up
animal rights group, like the actual police.
Yeah, because there's an animal rights group that they get involved with this. But, like, yeah, why is not the actual police? Because this is an actual police crime now, not an animal rights thing.
Like,
it's the difference between wanting to eat, I don't know, name any endangered species of animal in real life versus, like, another human.
Yeah. Like, eating an endangered species is bad.
And it's a terrible thing, and you should be punished for it.
Yeah. It's not murder, though.
Yeah, and I guess in real life, obviously, we care more about the animal than human life, but at the same time, both are bad.
Yeah.
And one is technically worse, but not really, because they're both equally bad. Because who can put you can't really put a worse than scale on certain crime, like when it comes to killing things.
Yeah.
I think killing things is still killing things, to a degree. Both are bad.
Yeah. I'm like,
And so yeah, so Ram is sneaking around, putting the box somewhere, and meanwhile, Reith is at the front door, and he's like trying to talk to this lady, and she's like, "I know you're a liar."
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I have a gun.
And she points it at him, and so he's like, Reith is struggling because he's got Savrip yelling in his ear,
and he's going like she's shouting.
She's shouting at him.
She's
and
like shouting questions at him.
And
he's like shouting yes and no and shut up. I can't hear you both when you're talking.
And she's like, both? What do you mean both? Oh, you got an earpiece. Who are you talking to?
Yeah. And
Ram decides to pull the best accent.
The situation is to come out of the bushes with the box.
Yeah, he basically comes out of her kitchen and is like, "It's me, Mario, with your food." He's like Italian stereotype.
Going full tilt. Star Wars, like, fake Italian accent. As hard as he can to sell this so that Reith doesn't get shot.
Which it does work.
It does.
So in Ram's case, it does work. So she's like, because it has less to do with the accent or anything. It's more of like, oh, my food is here.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so she's like, I've been waiting to eat this. And she opens the box, sees the creature in there.
And she gives a monologue about, like...
She's like, there are so many ways to cook this thing. There's grilled, there's sautéed.
And she's like,
but the best way to
who do that are barbarians.
Yeah, the best way to do it is alive. And so she opens her, like, because we've seen how the mouths of her race work with Deva. Like, they have almost like this Joker cut.
Yeah.
And so it opens like the entire jaw. Almost like a snake, really, too.
Yeah, they're like
because they're very reptilian with bird-like stuff.
Like they can dislocate their own jaw, basically.
Yeah.
Like
and so she opens her entire mouth,
and they're like,
and that's when Ram immediately uses the Force to be like, no.
No.
And thankfully, though, that is enough evidence for the animal rights group to just come bursting in.
Yep.
They're like, FBI. Essentially, like it's that meme. FBI, open up. And so yeah, they come crashing in along with Savrip, and they basically like arrest her for like trying to eat an endangered species, and they explain like why they're an endangered species to Ram, because Ram, while friends with them, didn't. This is actually a piece of information he didn't know. He was like, oh, I didn't know these guys were endangered to this level. Because, like, apparently they've only breeded, like, once every, like, few centuries or something like that. Because people just keep hunting them down so quickly that they don't have time to breed.
They're like... And I think it's, like, the first, like, girl one that's been seen in, like, a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a female one. And so Ram's like, oh, well, I guess I did a really good thing.
Yeah.
And it actually makes him feel good. Like, it's one of the first moments where he's starting to feel emotions.
Feel again.
Like, and throughout the book, I'd argue he's having some of it. Like, we talk about how he's struggling with his telling a joke thing. As the story goes on, he starts to get better at doing deadpan, to the point that even Crash is like, that's too good. Please stop.
Yeah.
And so, and he's laughing and having fun. I think his friendship with Reith and Crash is adding to his... getting that balance that he's looking for.
They're not as muted.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Reith needs the emotional volume knob turned down.
Yeah.
And
more of that, and it's less of like, and it has to do with some of his like love feelings, but it's also his like anger needs to be turned down a smidge too.
And
just a smidge.
And Rams needs to be turned up a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah. So they do that, and they're like, all right, time to go back to the hotel. Yep. So we're going to cut to Cantum and Comac, because this is kind of where their story interjects. Like, so Cantum is still telling his story, but we've kind of like finished that story for our sake of the review. But like throughout this, just imagine he's just consistently telling the story.
I think it's one per part.
Yeah.
There are
five parts. Yeah, it's 5 parts. They separate. The book is separated into 5 parts, and with like a few chapters in each part. And so Cantum is telling the part in this part, and after he's done with it, Comac's like, And by this time, they've gotten word that the capture of Crix was successful and all that.
Yeah.
But they haven't reached out for help yet.
Yep.
So Comac is like, man, it would have been better if they killed Crix. And Cantum's like, I don't. Oh no, we're not quite there yet. Sorry, It's when they're on their way to their next job because they get a call. They basically see on the news, but also get a call from the government officials that there was a fight in the police barracks.
Police barracks. They're like, someone shot up.
There was a whole shoot up.
There's like a shootout.
Yeah.
And they're like,
it started as just a fist fight, and then it went to shootout, and now there's like so many people dead.
They're like, we'll go check it out.
And so on their way to checking it out, that's when we get the whole conversation of Comac being like, yeah, like we deal with one Nihil problem, and then like another one just rises up. It would be better if we just shot him. We killed him as we went. And this throws Cantum off. He's like, that is not what I was trying to say. That's not the point of my story.
He's like, it's like, fucking Christ, Comac. I know you're upset.
Yeah, like, which I mentioned that. I was like, I mentioned that in our Discord because I was, we, like I've said in previous episodes, we just have this private talk as we read the book, and I put like spoilers in there. Like I make sure to do the spoiler tag so that way anybody who happens to go into the chat.
And I just choose to be very vague about words.
Yeah, so
for the most part.
I said never thought Comac would be pro murdering the Nihil. Like damn. And then you said, what do you mean? And so I talked about I mean, it's for a moment, but he was like, if only Zine had killed Crix. Honestly, the Nihil might be a bigger, and I say the Nihil might be a bigger enemy to the Jedi than the Sith with how much the Nihil have chipped away at them.
Yeah.
Which is, and then I actually circled the specific, like, moment where, in the book, because I actually had the book in front of me, and so I just took a picture and circled the clip. And it's, the exact quote that Comac gives is, all the more reason we have to take out who we can when we have the chance. So, yeah, Comac's just like...
Comac has reached the point that I get to in video games sometimes where I'm, like, getting frustrated with how many enemies there are.
Yeah.
It's that, how many more of you am I going to have to kill until you learn to stop doing what you're doing? And I'm like... I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
I have killed 50 of you. Stop.
So we're going to kind of speed run this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they get to the barracks where they hear the story of what's going on.
Yeah.
Turns out an ear kit. I wonder who that could be. And her boyfriend, apparently, who was a new recruit in the police, basically started stuff.
Yep.
And they started up a fist fight and then a shootout and some gas. And the other new recruits started fighting the old veterans, and basically it just ended in a shootout with a bunch of people dead.
Yep.
And so while this is happening, it turns out that we kind of come to what the solution is. What they're so Ram and Reeth make it back to their hotel and find out that our master's left. Okay, I guess we should leave too to like figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And
continue investigating.
Yeah, and Crash is like, all right, well, I've got a plan. We're going to go to another party.
Yep.
Because basically they're like, all right, you need to call your friend. So they get Zine involved. Yep. And they're like, Zine's going to pretend to be my next client. I'm going to basically, now that we've messed up Descaro's client, we're going to take his spot in this concert at the party. And we're going to have...
give me the 2 credits back.
Yeah, give me the 2 credits back because you're my clients now.
Yeah.
Because then I can protect you no matter what, because that's just my honor. That's how my honor works.
Crash's brain works.
Yeah, it's her honor methodology, which she's also dealing with the fact that her mother's on her back about, like, I'll take this company back from you if you don't figure your shit out.
I never got that sense. Like, I don't think she actually threatens to take it away.
She mentions taking it away. Yeah, she straight up says, "I'll take it back."
Like, you need to.
But I think it's to just kick her into gear. I don't think she's actually going to take it back. So yeah, so they set up this thing with the event planner. Basically, the event organizer. She like kind of like mind tricks without using the Force into like into like going with it because
she just cons her.
yeah. She's just like, hey, so shame what happened to Descaro's client, and they're like, yeah, now we have nobody for this big party coming up.
And she's like, well, I got the person.
Well, she doesn't.
you.
She doesn't even do that. She's like, oh, that's too bad, unfortunate. And she's like, oh, can you hand me my files for all my clients? And then apparently she's already been spreading the word of Zine around and having like all these people talk about Zine in town. And so the event organizer sees that Zine's on one of her clients, and they're like, hey, you got this person? And Crash is like, who? What are you talking about? I'm looking at your family photos. What a nice family. And the event organizer is like, ignore my family. Tell me about
ignore
this.
Ignore my, like, 64 kids or whatever.
Yeah. My family's great, but ignore that. We're talking about this. And so, yeah. And so, eventually, like, using that.
Yeah.
Zine is now the singer for this party.
Yeah. Who she doesn't know. Which
Zine doesn't know yet. Zine doesn't know yet. Zine is on her way to help them, but she has no idea what plans are going on or any of that.
Yeah.
And so, before the party, though, Comac and Cantum are also on their way to the party, because they're like kind of figuring things out. They're like, oh crap, we got to get there because we now have evidence that that's where they're going to target next. I think they found some evidence of that.
I don't think they go back
to the party. Oh no, you're right, because they find evidence to go to the shipyards.
Mm-hmm. I think they're attacked on the way.
Yeah, they're attacked on the way.
Like,
they're
finished talking to that guy who explains like all
what all went down. Yeah. So they get attacked by the Nihil, and they're like, "Oh, we."
The trunk.
Yeah, they find a gun in basically in the front of the car, essentially.
Just hide in the trunk. That's what they do.
Yeah, and so they're like, "Okay, we need to go to the spaceport because there's something big going on there."
Yeah.
So they're going to the spaceport. Meanwhile, Crash and Descaro have a secret meeting.
Yeah, and they're like, okay,
look, we want what's best for Corellia, right? Yes, of course. Okay, well, we both need to admit that one of our clients is behind this.
Yeah, and she's like, I have half of Corellia in my books.
You have the other half. So
it's got to be someone on one of our books.
And they're like, okay, well, Descaro's like, I don't know if I could betray somebody on my books, and she's like, I get that, but you gotta do what's right.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll think about it.
Oh,
and
we got Mr. New Money.
Yeah. Also, like the new financier, father of finance, the guy who placed Nomar after he disappeared. We'll go with, because nobody was ever found.
Yeah.
So the guy who replaced him starts knocking on the door, and Descaro is like, okay, you gotta hide. You can't leave the room at this point. You just gotta hide.
Yeah. So just hide behind the door.
Crash hides behind the curtain, actually, up against the window.
I fucking hate rooms like that.
And so she's hiding behind the curtain, and once again, actually, this goes towards Steven's comment. People love to talk when they think no one is hearing or no one they know.
Yeah.
So yeah, in fact, that's actually what Crash thinks immediately when she's hiding, pretty much word for word. And so she's hiding, and his client, it comes in. It's another O name.
Yeah, it's like Ovar.
Ovar, yeah, we'll go with Ovar. Ovar's like, hey, so I got a problem dealing with all these Nihil now, essentially, or something like that. Not quite that.
There's like a secret door.
Yeah, there's a secret door. Yeah, he's like, hey, you got to protect me because I got a meeting with this guy. And so a secret door opens, and in comes this Nihil named Respiller.
And so they get to talking, and
basically Respiller throws everything out. We now know everything, pretty much. Just about.
Ovar
hired the Nihil, let the Nihil in, so that way they would kill Nomar. Well, although he claims that he didn't want anybody to die, but...
They're like, hey,
Respiller calls him out on his bullshit. He's like, look, if I told you that I was going to kill Nomar, you still would have hired me. You let the Nihil in.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and Ovar's like, fine, I guess. And Respiller's like, all right, cool. Well, I got some more people to kill. I've got some other stuff going on. You gotta do your share of what you promised to do for the Nihil. And
he's basically...
Because basically, Ovar wants to be the new administrator of Coronet. Essentially, he wants to be the new ruler. They mention it. They mention that eventually he'd be in charge of Corellia completely, and which would work for the Nihil and also work for him.
He's like, what we agreed to were like small scale attacks, not open warfare. And Respiller's like,
Too bad.
too bad.
We're doing things my way.
It's like, this wasn't the plan. Well, it is now.
Yeah, like I joked about it with you that it was kind of like Empire Strikes Back, where Vader's like, where he's like, I've altered the deal, pray I don't alter it any further.
Yeah.
And poor Ovar's like the Lando of the situation.
Yeah, he's like, this wasn't the deal. I didn't sign up for this.
So yeah, so Respiller leaves, and immediately Descaro's like complete disdain for his client.
He's like,
Which is and he actually yells at him, which Crash notes that she's never heard Descaro.
she's like, I've never seen Descaro.
I've never
She's like, I don't like Descaro, but I've never seen him this pissed off at someone.
especially a client.
Yeah,
Like I've never seen him disrespect a client this way.
yeah,
And the client's just like, look, I'm paying you to bodyguard me, not do politics.
yeah,
And Descaro's still angry about it, but what's he gonna do? Because Descaro's honor is
yeah.
doing the job.
He's like,
It's basically
you're
this.
lucky you hired me, because if
Otherwise, I would shoot you here.
I would kill you right now.
Yeah.
That's like the general.
Like that's the
tone.
vibe I got.
Yeah, he's like, if you hadn't hired me, and I found this out.
So yeah, everybody leaves for the party at
Yeah.
this point. It's a Nihil party.
Yeah.
It turns out that
And
once
this-
again disrespecting the apparent death of
This-
Nomar.
This
It,
pisses
it-
Ram off.
it also pisses Crash off.
Yeah.
But Ram is really mad because he thinks this is disrespectful, not just to Nomar. This is disrespectful to like all the actual deaths
Yeah.
of like people throughout
He's
the
like-
galaxy that have died from Nihil attacks. Because he's angry that these city folk essentially are treating the death of like the Outer Rim as nothing. Because he's like, you're making a joke of something that's really serious because
Like-
you haven't had to deal with it. It's essentially what
Yeah.
Ram's thinking. And so once again, we're seeing the emotions of Ram, which
He's like,
he starts to think back on it. He's like, I shouldn't be this mad. And Reeth is like, no, it's fine to be mad at this because it's more as long as you balance it.
he's like, balance, man. This.
It's fine to be angry about this, though.
Yeah. He's like,
So yeah, so
I
Ram
hate
comes to
these
terms. Yeah,
people.
Ram comes to terms with this. Meanwhile, Crash is also pissed off, and Descaro's like, "Didn't you read like what the event plan was? It said Nihil party on the invite." essentially, that's essentially what Descaro says. Like that's not exactly what he says, but it's
he's like, do you not fucking read anything about where you're going?
and so yeah. So then it turns out Respiller shows up.
Yeah.
Respiller then takes off his mask and reveals it was Nomar the whole time. It was me, Nomar.
I was never in any danger at all.
In fact, I am the danger.
Yeah. And then he just opens fire.
Yeah. Well, no. So he starts.
gives a speech.
He
and
gives a
then-
speech, and Ovar is like, "Well, we aren't gonna let no outsiders come out here on Corellia."
Like, Omar is like,
he has a
"Actually,"
he has a complete turnaround.
He's like, actually, as a matter of fact, fuck you.
Fuck the Nihil. And that's when he gets shot.
Yeah.
So Respiller tries to shoot at him.
Yeah.
Apparently, because Respiller is more a politician than a Nihil, he's a terrible shot. But on top of that, Descaro, a man of his honor, jumps in the way
Yeah.
and gets shot 5 times, I think is what they say.
It's 3 times.
3 times.
But all of them are like kill shots.
Yeah, they were like, so apparently Respiller shot 5 and then 3 hit. Yeah, that's what. And like, so everybody else scatters.
And the problem that the group is having, because the gang's all here.
Yeah, Zine's here, everybody's here. The
is
new,
like
except for the Masters, they're dealing with
except for
the
Masters.
spaceport
Masters
issue,
are elsewhere.
which they've figured out the big plan too.
Yeah. And they're like, here's the problem that we're having at this fucking party.
We don't know who is and isn't a Nihil because everybody's in a mask.
Yep. And they're like, great. We can't just swing at everybody.
No, it's basically that scene from The Dark Knight where Batman goes into that building and everybody's wearing the Joker, like the clown masks in that construction site, and then like, but some of them are hostages that are tied up. And so, like, it's like, well, which ones are hostages and which ones are Joker's minions?
And the way that they decide to figure it out is basically whichever ones aren't running away screaming
Probably aren't.
probably Nihil.
Yeah, whichever ones are running away, that you're probably a citizen.
Yeah.
So yeah, they figured that problem out, thankfully. Meanwhile, Cantum and Comac have figured out the true plan of why the Nihil are even on Corellia. And it turns out that Corellia is like a neighbor system away from Irem. Like, it's not that far away.
It's not.
It turns out it's like a jump away.
Yeah.
And so it turns out that the Nihil are on Corellia because they know basically they're the backup for the crashing of Starlight Beacon.
Oh, just in case anything goes wrong.
In fact, I think they mentioned that they can see Starlight Beacon from Corellia. Like, they see it on fire.
The Hollow News as well.
Hollow News as well.
Yeah, and they're like, my house is on fire.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. So, and also the Padawans get this news as well while they're dealing with the Nihil So, eventually everybody kind of converges at the spaceport because that's kind of the main objective over
shipyards.
The shipyards.
Not the
shipyards. Because yes, the shipyards. Because the Nihil are planning not to steal just any ships. They are stealing the newest models that are being built as these giant, like, they call them Purgle class, which are, that's a Rebels reference, because Purgle are the space whales that can jump into that can do hyperspace jumps.
Okay.
So they named the ships after them. And they're these giant ships. Yeah. In fact,
speaking of giant
here's
ships,
a hint of how giant they are. They're what the new hotel resort for the Star Wars one that they're making.
Yeah.
It's what it's based off of. It's a Purgle class.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the Nihil's plan is basically take all these because they have up-to-date weapons, all the best feed toys, and bells and whistles.
That's one reason.
And also, like,
the other reason is because the Nihil are a bunch of fucks.
Yeah, and it also like makes the Republic look bad.
It's also because they're like, what's real easy to kill? People who are waiting for ambulances to arrive.
Yep. And then we pretend we are them,
so we can make sure they get it even harder.
Yeah. So basically, the plan is they're the backup.
Yeah.
To make sure people die at Starlight Beacon. So yeah. So basically, the plan becomes, okay, don't let them on, and eventually, everybody that's our main characters converge to this point. After a lot of fighting to get there.
Yeah.
A lot.
Like 20 chapters of a 65 chapter book.
Yeah, it's just this fight to get there.
Just getting there and then holding and making sure none of the ships take off.
And eventually, I think Cantum is the one that makes the call, and they're just like, okay, we just need to destroy these ships because we can't let anybody get them. I think it's Cantum.
Yeah.
If it's either Cantum or Comac that make that call.
Reith gets pretty heavily injured.
Reith and Ram sneak onto one of them? No.
Reith gets the shit beat
out
of him.
Yeah, and Ram puts him into like
a suitcase.
Into the suitcase bay of one of them.
Here, take
all
of the Bacta.
Here's all my Bacta
I have, because if you don't, you're gonna die.
And Reith's like, no, you need something. He's like, while Reith is coughing up blood, essentially.
He's like, no, man, you are not seeing how actually bad of a shape you're in. Because Reith is over here.
Reith is basically doing his death saving throws for D&D terms.
I can only imagine for the group, just the fucking Halo Reach fucking survive objective for them, because although they're all very skilled and very talented, and sure they've got their
it's just they're so outnumbered.
They are so outnumbered, it's not even fair.
Yeah. So eventually, I can't remember what happens to the ear kit. Does she die?
Yeah, she gets it hard.
Yeah.
Ship.
Oh, one of the ships blowing up, sort of deal, or. So I know at some point Ram sneaks onto the ship that he left Reith on, and as it and it flies away because there's Nihil on it. They deal with that. They kill them.
Well, yeah, they die pretty hard because there's a relic ship whose main purpose is just to drill into other ships.
Yeah.
Ram uses that.
Yep.
He gets 2 of them. 2 of the ships.
Yep, I remember that.
He uses that to get to Reef, and then he leaves.
Yeah, they they basically like escape.
Yeah,
because they're still like not that far out, so they like.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, back to Corellia.
Yep.
So wrapping the battle up short, Earkid's dead.
Yep.
They deal with a lot of the issues.
Yeah.
It's solved. Kind of a sour note still, though, because they know that Starlight Beacon's still gone.
Starlight Beacon is gone.
Oh, the bright note. During this fight, Yoda shows up. Yoda comes in
with this
like
bandaged motherfucker with him.
Yeah, and they think that like it looks like that they were losing at like they managed to get a lot of the victory, but they were thinking, okay, we've managed to stop the ships, but we might not still win this.
Yeah.
And then Yoda comes in and like, I got this.
Yoda
is his spry Attack of the Clones, like the Attack of the Clones self, where he's
Force valor over all the time.
And so Yoda comes in, saves the day, like the champ he is.
Yeah, Yoda's like, I figured out some shit. Also, what the fuck are you doing to my grandkids?
Yeah, because basically he views everybody as like either his kids or grandkids. Like, this is all his family.
How dare you?
So okay, the day has been saved.
Yeah.
And now let's kind of wrap up some of the romances.
Although all of our heroes survive, man, it's like
it's still rough.
It's that fight on your like tabletop and RPG games where you're like, I'm glad
all your resources have been used up though,
but everyone is like at 5 hit points and you have nothing left.
Yep. The good news is Crash makes amends with her girlfriend and the rest of her crew.
Yeah.
Also, Nomar dies because Crash leads the Grandolids to him. Because apparently the reason nobody knew Nomar was alive was because he made a deal with the Grandolids to be like, hey, can I use your sewers?
Yeah.
And so he would just travel between sewers. And the Grandolids didn't attack him, even though they suspected that he killed Prybolt.
But they were like, we want to confirm it.
And so Crash confirms it by basically getting him to admit it.
Yeah.
And then the Grandolids come out of the shadows like, good enough. Murder.
Yeah. They eat him alive.
Yeah. So Nomar got what was coming to him.
Yeah. I'm like, I'd feel bad for you if you weren't a traitor.
For reals.
Yeah.
So Crash makes amends with her crew. And she's like, look, you guys... She doesn't quite say their family, although I was about to be like, say your family, because I was thinking, like, she's like, my friends. And I'm like...
And they're like... The Grindolids are like, you're welcome to come back anytime.
Yeah, because, she makes amends with the Grindolids. She makes amends with her crew. Because she's like, you guys are more than just my crew. You're my friends. That's something I've kind of kept... like
been dealing with
because she's kind of had this like barrier between work life and regular and like normal life.
Yeah, and she is like she burns the entire company and like all their contact.
Yeah, she's like, we're gonna reset.
She's like, you know what? We're done.
We're gonna reset with like
set the score to 0
with the acknowledgement that we are friends.
Yep.
Not just business partners, and also maybe more than friends for Svina. Which Svina's like, maybe.
We'll see.
Like, you can tell Svina likes her back.
Likes
it's one of those things of
like
you got to build it. You got to build it first.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you got to build the friendship before you build the relation. I think that's actually what they say. Build the friendship before we.
Because once again, Crash has a problem with keeping secrets from people.
Yeah. So that's one good relationship. Unfortunately, another relationship, we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Yeah.
Because Lula is off somewhere and Zine doesn't know where yet. So Zine makes a promise of, well, I'm going to go find the rest of my friends from High Republic Adventures comic. And Court and those are characters you didn't know until she mentioned them.
Nope.
Her friends.
I'm going to go
find my friends and then we're going to find my girlfriend.
Yep.
And I'm not going to ever let her go again.
She actually makes a hollow message for Lula before big battle at the shipyards.
Yeah, she was like, I hope you're okay. You're my best.
Okay.
You mean a lot to me.
I love you. Goodbye.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, just in case I die.
Yep. And so now her journey is going to be looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, let's kind of resolve, I guess, Comac and Wreath's arc because that's the only one really left to resolve.
Wreath, after waking up from his fucking battle coma.
Yeah, it's basically like relaxing. He hangs out with Ram a little bit.
Yeah.
And then basically in the middle of the night, he gets awakened by like Comac and Cantum.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, come with us. Come with us.
Yeah, we need to
talk about something." And so they take him to this dark room. And
Wreath is kind of freaking out.
He's like, "What did I do? What did I do?"
It's not like
he's almost like, "Did I do something wrong?" for like a moment. And then all the lightsabers ignite, and you get the basically, if you've seen Gendy's Clone Wars series, the 2D one, you get that scene of knighthood, and basically Yoda's there, Cantum's there, Comac's there, and they basically knight him.
They do.
Yeah, they knight him, and it's amazing.
It's both amazing,
but also like it's sad for
Wreath
because
this isn't how it should be done.
Yeah,
this isn't.
Wreath doesn't think he deserves it.
Yeah,
I think he's
once
wrong.
Again, Wreath is hard on himself.
Yeah. I think he's wrong. I think he deserves it. I think he should somewhat cherish the moment,
but he can't.
And I get that. Like I said, like after reading the entire book, which we're hitting the end, I basically said it was a happy, sad ending.
Yeah, it's a very bittersweet.
It's bittersweet. You've got this happiness of getting to see Wreath knighted because he deserves it. He does. And you see these wonderful relationships. You see Crash ending up where she needs to be. And I would argue, while
this is technically, in my opinion, the first real victory against the Nihil that I have seen.
Even with Starlight Beacon crashing off in the distance.
Starlight Beacon crashing.
Or I guess at this point crashed.
Yeah.
But the good news is Yoda also during his well, actually, we'll finish doing the knighting ceremony before we talk about Yoda, although I think the Yoda thing happens first.
Like immediately
after. So the Comac immediately then gives Wreath his lightsaber.
He's like, "Here you go, kid."
And Wreath's like, "Wait, what? No, I don't want this."
I don't want this.
And Comac's like, "Well, I'm not a Jedi anymore, so take it."
Yeah, Comac's like, man, I gotta go.
So many people in Wreath's life just leave.
They either leave or are dead.
But like, so many people are like, they just leave the Jedi. Either they leave the Jedi Order, or they feel like they've done a bad when they haven't, and they like first Dez and then Comac, and it's just like, no, you both are fine. You don't need to do this.
Oh yeah, not to mention his master who.
Yeah, and then his master's dead. Jor Mali got killed. So like, but I was putting this more in perspective of like people that have like actively left. And it's like the people that have actively left did not need to.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like Dez did nothing wrong in my opinion.
Yeah. No, like we've gone over this. The motherfucker walked into a door.
Yeah, and then he got brainwashed.
Yeah.
And then Comac, while he had these thoughts, he never acted on them.
Yeah.
He never outright said, "All right, I'm going to kill a motherfucker."
Yeah, but Comac is like, I think what Comac did is made himself an internal promise. Like, I'm not going to leave the Order until I see my apprentice knighted.
Yeah, basically this was the last thing. Like, basically Comac left his legacy.
Yeah, he's like, I think it'll be safe in your hands.
But I think at the same time, imagine the trauma for Wreath in this. Like, as somebody who really likes Wreath as a character,
I like him
Wreath.
Too, but man, he goes through the ringer.
Like, Wreath is my favorite character in the High Republic series so far. Like, he's one of my favorites. I put Elzar up there, but like Wreath is definitely my favorite because I find him really relatable. Yeah. Except for the trauma, I haven't dealt with the same level of trauma. But in the nerd aspect, like I get being a book guy. I get like I'm not quite as like I'm a lot more extroverted than him, but like I get it.
Like,
and so like Wreath deserves so like Dez leaving. While I disagree with it, I get it.
Yeah.
Comac leaving as his master, he should know better.
The thing. I think
because he's had 2 years to know Wreath at this point, maybe a year and some months to know Wreath as his apprentice.
Yeah, I think the thing with Wreath is He's a good apprentice. He really is.
I guess Comac just believes in him enough to be a knight, but at the same time, that's not enough. Because you're leaving him immediately. At least give it a year, talk it over with him, and be like, "Hey, these are the feelings I'm having. Like, now that you've been knighted, I can trust you with these feelings." Because it's different telling your Padawan that. You don't tell your Padawan all that stuff. Like, maybe you do, but like, it's harder to tell a Padawan all that information. Yeah. Like, it's why him and Cantum were sharing it, because they were both masters, so they can both share that info. Yeah. But like, telling your Padawan that's a little bit more of a conversation to have. But now that he's not a Padawan, they're almost peers now.
Yeah.
And so I feel like as peers, they could have had that conversation before Comac left. Instead, Comac just like drops his lightsaber essentially and is like, "All right, you're a knight. You don't need me anymore. Bye." And it's like, no.
I think Reeve definitely does. I fucking got away from the mic.
No, you're fine.
I think the thing about Reed is that he does have the qualities of a knight. I don't think they should have knighted him right then and there. And here's why. He's basically having a fucking panic attack when they do it.
It's not the worst moment that they've ever knighted somebody, though.
No.
I mean, Clone Wars, they basically just knight anybody that did the basic of tasks just because they needed more knights. Whereas at least here, they waited till he actually did, like, he's done enough to prove, like, he basically did his trials.
Yeah. But I don't think, like, that was the right time. But then again, it's like...
Knowing that, I think Comac already knew he was going to leave, so there was no other option. Anyways, let's kind of wrap it up, I guess. Yeah. Yoda.
He's like... I figured some shit out
while
I was gone.
Yeah, basically Yoda figured out about the Force Eaters.
Yeah.
So he now has basically all this information about Force Eaters, and he's like, so I know how to deal with them, so we need to go deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's where he
doesn't tell us.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Mr. Bandages, as I'm gonna call him since I don't know their name yet, is over there doing a creepy fucking nursery rhyme.
Yeah. Oh,
I only got like 3 lines of it.
The Shri Karai Cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that nursery rhyme I told you about. That's a thing. It's throughout the entire thing. Basically, it's what a lot of people hear when it comes to, and I think the comic I'm reading is going to deal with that. I need to finish that issue. It's the last issue of basically following a Jedi investigator who's looking into this. Anyways, so that was the High Republic Midnight Horizon. 8 out of 10.
I think it's 7.
I was almost at 7.5, but.
And here's why. Sorry, I forgot how did I forget the author's name?
Oh, Daniel Jose Older.
Yeah. I think it would actually work out this particular story a lot better as a comic book.
Maybe.
Series.
Which he's good with that.
Yeah, because he writes it that way.
I can see that.
He writes comics.
Yeah, I can see it. I think this was good. I think he did a good job, though.
Overall, it's still a good story.
It's still a good book, I think.
It's written.
I think I think this just couldn't be a comic just because of the grander nature, like the length. Yeah, the grander nature. But yeah,
it wasn't bad.
Yeah. And it also answered a lot of questions of like where were the Jedi during the during Fallen Star, because there were a lot of people who just didn't show up.
Yeah.
And also Comac unfortunately had to deal with the loss of Orla Jareni, because Orla, he felt her death.
Yeah.
And he was like I haven't felt her presence in a long time.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh no.
That's not a good sign.
Especially when he saw what happened to Starlight Beacon.
Yeah.
And so.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So that was Midnight Horizon. All right. I guess our next thing, we're jumping ahead in the timeline by a lot. We're going to talk about Book of Boba Fett. So we've already watched it because here's the news. We are going to have our first ever pre-recorded episode.
Yeah.
Because next week I will be at Pensacon.
You gotta go do some stuff.
I'm going to go to Pensacon. I'm going to a convention. I'm gonna have some fun and film some people, and I'll probably get some autographs. I saw that Matt Lanter, the voice of Anakin from Clone Wars, will be there, so I'm probably gonna get Clone Wars signed because I already got Ashley Eckstein to sign it. So I just need to get some more people. I think. So yeah.
Also something else.
We'll talk about that next
time.
Next at the end of Book of Boba Fett one.
Right.
So the next episode you'll see is pre-recorded.
Yeah. Don't know.
So no news. Probably no news. Just
probably no news.
Just Book of
Don't
Boba
know
Fett.
if we'll be here or not.
Yeah, but you'll. Yeah.
Don't worry. You know what I mean.
Yeah. So
You'll figure.
So
it
no
out.
live stream. No live stream. Which also means though. Well, I'll talk about that in a bit. Okay. So Book of Boba Fett next week. So thank you guys for watching.
Yeah.
Be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, subscribe and follow. If you want to watch on YouTube, it's youtube.com/Escape Reality Films. We have other stuff there. We have some gameplay stuff. So like my talk about Shadows of the Empire, you can watch me play that there, as well as Star Wars Bounty Hunters. Actually, I'm playing the Bounty Hunters video game, and in connection to that hasn't been uploaded yet, but I've got some Let's Plays of that coming up. And then if you want to watch me on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/CJ Star Wars 94, where you can watch me also play the Mass Effect games, where I'm currently on Mass Effect 3 Legendary Edition. And then if you want to really help us out with a little bit of the finances, you can follow us on Patreon. You can become a patron on patreon.com/Escape Reality Films, where the first tier will get you access to the Discord where we hang out.
Yep.
You can. I'm going to fix it to where tiers can also join us in the Escape Reality Star Wars Talk chat. So that way, if you guys are reading the book or watching the content along with us, you can talk about it with us as we do it. Just be careful with spoilers. Put the spoiler tags in them whenever you talk about something spoiler. The second one will get you access to the YouTube content a week before it's uploaded to YouTube, which is actually going to be very important now for this show, because since we're doing our first ever pre-recorded episode, y'all can basically immediately watch our review of Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Like, you finish watching this, y'all finish watching this, and y'all will be able to watch Book of Boba Fett once we're done with it.
Be ready for a bit of rambling on my part.
And so it's not going to be up right yet, obviously, because we haven't filmed it yet, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and film that after we leave. Special thanks to Gamers and Geeks and Mobcast Network for providing the space. Yep. You can watch the other podcasts from Mobcast by going to youtube.com/Mobcast Network, where you can watch Mando Mondays, where we're going to have on upcoming Monday, they're having their last talk of Book of Boba Fett. And you can also watch the Cult Movie Cantina, where we talk about older movies or just movies in general. This week we're going to be talking about I just blanked. The Purge. Oh. Yeah, we're going to be talking about The Purge. The first one, which funny enough happens this year in the movie. Oh
yeah, well.
So I guess
we didn't go down that time.
Yeah, thankfully March of this year we're not going to have The Purge. Yeah. So we're gonna watch that, and then
just take a nap.
If you're in the Mobile, Alabama area, come check out Gamers and Geeks. They've got all your tabletop stuff going on. I know for Valentine's weekend they are doing a 20% off on if you get 2 or more items that can be used together. So, for example, we got these drinks and snacks from them, and we got 20% off on each of those. Or you can get some board games. If there's 2 board games that you want, now's the time to get them because you get 20% off. Or any card game, like any of your cards that you want to collect that you've been saving up for. If you have any Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or anything, they've got it. They also got an arcade in the back that you can pay $10 a day. Come play whatever games that you like. They got Mortal Kombat. They've got I've seen House of the Dead, which that's a classic. So yeah, come check them out. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys, I guess, in about an hour or two, depending on when I can get the upload for the next episode. If you're a Patreon member, if you're not, we'll see you next week. Have